On today's show, Darrell and I are going to talk about how we do preseason training here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey guys, welcome back to Strategic Baseball Podcast. On today's show, Darrell and I are going to talk a little bit about how we do our preseason training here at Athletic Mission. Last episode was about the off season, so if you didn't catch that, go back and check that out. And then the next episode is going to be about our in-season training. But on today's show, it's going to be about our preseason training that we do right here at Athletic Mission in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Geoff and Darrell here, and we are a part of a group of baseball instructors and coaches that you probably have never heard of before. We don't rely on cookie cutter evaluation to assess and judge baseball players. We don't judge players on physical talent alone. In fact, we do the exact opposite. We use strategic assessment and individualized training that we know can help any player get better. Because we are fighting against too many players and parents giving up on baseball too soon, we have to evaluate players differently. We have to do things more strategically. We don't have the ability to pick our players from a huge pool of talented players. Every day, we have to take players where they currently are and build on the skills they currently have. So we focus more on building a strategic advantage mindset, more than the physical talent early on. So how do we do that? How do we convince players to believe in themselves? If you ask some high school coaches, college recruiters, and pro scouts, they tell you that it's a waste of time. Some players just don't have it. Yet it's happening every single day. It's happening through strategic assessment and hyper-individualized training that we call Strategic Advantage Baseball. This is Strategic Baseball Podcast, and these are our stories. All right, Darrell, I'm going to let you kick this off, man. We are talking today about our preseason training that we do right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Athletic Mission Baseball Academy. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the point where we really start to try dialing the pitchers in. Now we're coming off the off season. Hopefully that we've went back through and got a pretty good idea, did that postseason evaluation, and really sat down and did a deep dive on what these guys individually need. And so we focused on that this off season. Hopefully they've done the work and we've collaborated and put that plan together. And again, this is not something where we're talking about playing year round, burying kids into throwing. There's a ton of stuff that we can do in the off season, especially young players that are developing physically and going through puberty and literally growing and understanding, working on movement patterns and stuff that we do in strength and conditioning programs and things that can really just help them to continue to understand how to use their bodies in baseball specific movement. So that's really the focus of the off season is recovery, health, get bigger, more powerful, stronger. That's going to help us really be, a better thrower as the preseason starts, and then eventually develop that throwing motion and action into pitching. And so really the preseason piece, we focus on that transition from the off season. Now let's really work into the throwing program, whether it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on what the ramp up period is for each one of these players, depending on what level they're playing at. And inside of that throwing program, not just literally getting the arm in shape, but now we're really focused on what pitches we want to use, what pitches are we going to continue to practice. And again, here we do it a little different. I call it PVML bullpens. It's pitch by velocity and movement to a specific location. These guys, as we move through the preseason, got to understand that most of the velocity that we've gained in the off season. So whatever state we're currently at, whatever level we're currently at, can we see some bumps depending on just getting stronger and moving through the throwing program as we get closer to end season, yeah, we'll see little bumps, but you're not going to see that massive improvement that if you've done the off season right, that you could see that a lot of guys work on, or a lot of guys are hoping for with these different velocity programs that are out there. Once the preseason starts, I want these guys to be laser focused in on, now I got to start developing the trust in my pitches. And so whether it's playing catch, or whether that's working on our mechanics, or just kind of fine tuning and really getting our body in sync with the throwing motion, and then literally the grip, wrist, and forearm angle, how we throw a pitch, and getting that rhythm, tempo, and timing. That is the core of what we focus on preseason. And again, there's no magical throwing program. There's a lot of good throwing programs out there. If guys want to see what's out there, it's really about what it takes for you to get your arm ready, to get your body ready, to get your mind ready, and really get dialed in on, once we get, in pretty good shape and our arm feels good, that once we move to the bullpens and we really start focusing and throwing what we call PVML bullpens, you throw that pitch by velocity movement to a location on purpose. That's what we track. I don't necessarily worry about balls and strikes as much as I do, can that pitcher start throwing that pitch to a specific location on purpose? Because at the end of the day, that's what pitching is. It's about strategy. It's about the opponent. It's about what that opponent knows about me, what I know about that team and their overall philosophy, and what do I know about that specific hitter. And so when we get deeper into the preseason, it's really about really focusing on what you and I is our big piece here at Athletic Mission, is the pre-pitch routine. To us, everything, 90% of baseball happens in that pre-pitch routine. That decision-making process within the game of baseball, and the way you and I teach it, every position should have a pre-pitch routine. Every position should be laser focused and present on what's about to happen, and what's going to, what should be their thing, their initial reaction based on what the outcome is. And when we start looking at it from that perspective, and especially from the pitching perspective, where they're the ones in control of it, they're the ones that's literally going to start the play. They're the ones that's got to go when that catcher puts a sign down, and have a true strategic decision-making process on why they pick what is the absolute best pitch to throw in that situation and count. And so that's literally what we start working on in the preseason. When we start the throwing program, when we introduce the physical piece of it, the throwing, the actual playing catch, and get loose and stretching it out, or if they long toss, or just whatever they want to frame it and call it, their throwing program. Now, as we work through that throwing program, the mental and the strategic side is really about that pre-pitch routine and what we should be focused on. Do I have command of my pitches? Do I understand the grip, wrist, and forearm angle, and how to set my pitches up in my glove? How to really get through the throwing motion and get into release point, and then mastering that pitch. Literally mastering that pitch. So that becomes what the decision-making process is. And I think that's what's missing. A lot of people think baseball is just you're born a baseball player, or you're born a pitcher. And no, you might be born and have some genetic advantages to help you be a thrower, but pitchers are made. Pitchers are developed and trained, and you make yourself an elite level pitcher. And the more that we help these guys see that piece of it in the preseason and really fine tune that pre-pitch routine and that decision-making process, then we see their physical skills and capabilities, Geoff, kind of come to the forefront. And again, that's our big emphasis on the preseason, is really getting the arm in shape, getting ready, but it's really more focused about unique pitching skills, like getting ready to trust and how to master my pitches, so I can get ready for when the season starts to go out there and create a strategic game plan against any hitter or against any team.
Yeah, like we talked about before, the strategic advantage baseball process and the 4 levels of the process. The first one being that competitive advantage. And that's where we're focusing on the athleticism, the mechanics, the practice habit routines, active velocity, Those are all the things that you and I consider training. And that's going to be the focus in the off season. And then we go into preseason, which, like you said, we're trying to tie everything together. We're trying to make everything tighter and get ready for to master our unique hitting and pitching skills, and so that we can develop strategy to show up on game day. So that's going to be our preseason focus. We've seen a lot of guys make like drastic changes in the offseason, both physically, with their maturity and they're getting into their man body, and then skill wise, it's almost like they become a different player. So we need to take this time to ensure that we learn to take what we have gained and ensure that we'll be able to use it in a real game and trust it in a game. I think you and I do a pretty decent job of getting guys to understand the process. So, and again, their process, we help them develop their own process. And as long as they have this clarity and understanding, then making this process of trusting their stuff becomes a little bit easier, because they know how they're going to be using it in a baseball game. So the off season, again, there's a ton of focus for us on the hitting side. There's a ton of focus on the stick process. That's something that we've always worked on. The stick process, those see and spin, timing, knowledge of the zone, and then the swing. And then as we get into the preseason, yes, we continue to measure the stick process and always kind of talk about and refine. That's our process. But then there becomes a new focus, an additional focus on the command hitting piece, which we're going through the situations in the counts and having guys go through their pre-pitch routine and decide what is the best pitch for me to look for in this situation and this count. And doing this to where we can start to trust our ability and trust our ability to execute it in real time. Limit the panic swing. The panic swing, for me, the panic swing is typically the timing issue. We want guys to trust their hands and trust their swing no matter where they are. So we see a lot of guys make a ton of compensations. Like they rush their body. They just do a ton of things, which we can talk about another time, but there's a lot of compensation for the swing. So we want to make sure that we're repeating our swing, not having panic swing. And this is stuff that we practice. So yeah, Darrell, so this is going to be, the preseason focus on the hitting side so that we can get ready to develop strategy to go play against an opponent.
Yeah, man, that's good. And I think that's the piece that I want these guys to take away from the preseason and kind of the emphasis we put on it. And depending on how long your ramp up is till the season starts, preseason could be for some places 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and some places it might be 3 months. And so understanding that and being able to build up and really develop, like you said, that pre-pitch routine, how we trust our unique baseball skills, whether it's a pitcher or a hitter, kind of how do we develop that trust? And then how do we uniquely use that and get ready to prepare for the season? That's what baseball is. And I think that's the big thing that you and I have kind of had our aha moment here, is that when we focus on that pre-pitch routine and these guys see baseball, like literally they see the game through their eyes, through their lens, inside of this pre-pitch routine, it almost becomes like ultra personalized just for them. And so when you talk to them inside of their own pre-pitch routine and their own decision-making process, then it lets us break out the different aspects of the training piece. It lets us break down, like you talked about, seeing the ball, timing, knowing your zone in the swing, or what we talk about, PBML, that pitch. You got to throw your pitches with the velocity that you can throw it to, with movement to a specific location. When they really start to grasp that it's not just this generic number I'm trying to reach velocity wise, that literally it's about how I throw my pitches with velocity and movement to a location. Now it just seems to become, like we're talking about, it becomes super individualized. And when they see that, that's how we develop guys. That's how we develop individual players. So it's not this compare and convincing themselves they're as good as everybody else. It's really about that deeper dive into what do I need to do to compete, and what do I need to do to go help my team, to contribute to my team, to help them win games, and to help my coach feel good about trusting me in certain situations and counts, so those playing opportunities come. And that is done in the off season, transition into the preseason. Once they get that piece right, man, that's how we get coaches to trust us and really want to give us the opportunity to go out there and play.
Right. And we, for the sake of the kids and their confidence, man, we try to make sure that we really understand and get them to understand what the focus is each season, and understanding what's off season, what's in season, what's preseason. Because, if you do off season work during the in season, especially with a guy who's been putting in work all off season and feeling pretty good about his stuff and really trusting where he's at and liking where he's at and having confidence in where he's at, you can kill a guy's confidence really, really fast by trying to change something that he really believes in, or he really trusts in, what he's been working on all off season. So I think it's really important that we understand what seasons do what. And for the sake of the kids, we got to remember what it's like to play. I think some coaches, we tend to forget what it was like to be a player, and what it does for us whenever we're focusing on the wrong things at the wrong time, especially when we have something that we really trust and that we really feel good about.
Exactly, man. It's good.
Awesome. So that's our preseason training that we do here at Athletic Mission. Again, as always, if you guys enjoyed any of these episodes, please go leave us an objective review, and then head over to strategic-baseball.com and join our list. We got some cool stuff. Darrell and I are working every single day. We really do have some stuff that we're getting ready to come out with. It's exciting. So anyway, we'll catch you all in the next episode.